CARICOM leaders formally begin their annual summit in Bridgetown. This is Caribbean Newsline for Thursday, July 2nd. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Sharon Coward. Good evening. Regional leaders opened their annual summit in Bridgetown this evening with a focus on sustainable economic development in the Caribbean and a focus on the youth. This year's conference is being held under the theme, Vibrant Societies, Resilient Economies, a Partnership for Implementation. CMC's Peter Richards is covering the conference, and he joins us live via Skype. Good evening, Peter.
Good evening to you. Good evening, and good evening to the Caribbean. As you rightfully pointed out, the meeting has started here at the Hilton Hotel, and I could say it's raining a lot.
What are likely to be some of the major items on the agenda, Peter?
Well, let's take it before we go into the major items likely to come out of this summit here. The leaders are now addressing the opening ceremony. The outgoing CARICOM chairman, that's Prime Minister Perry Christie of the Bahamas, he has now asked the CARICOM leaders to look at the whole issue of tourism in a new paradigm, located in context of, for example, removing the taxes on airline tickets so as to encourage more people to come to the Caribbean. And as I'm speaking to you, the President of Guyana, David Granger, is addressing the conference, and of course he has brought up the issue of the Venezuela-Guyana border. He has called on CARICOM to state in no uncertain terms its support territorial dispute with Venezuela. The President Granger, who came to power last month in May, is also asking the international community, the United Nations, the Commonwealth, to come and assist Guyana, and has called on Venezuela not to stymie his country's development. As we speak, we understand and we know that the President of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, will visit Barbados to hold a meeting with the CARICOM leaders on Friday.
You touched on a number of issues, Peter. Have there been any sort of indication of any sort of response from the other leaders present?
Hello, I didn't get your question.
Yes, Peter, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you now.
You touched on a number of issues. Are there any indications so far as to the responses from the leaders to these issues?
Well, indirectly, I think when the leaders meet tomorrow in caucus, these are some of the issues that will be raised. I expect them to take a position on the Guyana-Venezuela border. When you listen to the Prime Minister of St. Kitts Nevis, he's also calling for unity among Caribbean countries, and he's saying we need to go back to the days, for example, when we cannot have things like 3 nominees for one post coming out from CARICOM. He's asking for unity. The Premier of Montserrat, Donald Romeo, who has just been elected, has also addressed the conference, and he too has made a plea for regional unity going forward.
Last year, Peter, St. Lucia's Prime Minister Kenny Anthony said he was fed up of discussing the same issues again and again at these meetings. Do you expect a change this year?
No. We're going to have some of the recurring issues. Climate change. We're going to have the debt issue. We're going to have the whole question of the Caribbean's response, for example, to the latest European Union position on the tax havens. What we probably will see now coming out of this summit is the fact that the Caribbean will, I think, for all intents and purposes, the situation in the Dominican Republic, what has transpired there, the deportation of the Haitians, that probably will be among the major issues coming out of this summit. The CARICOM is also going to deal with the question of energy. The leaders from Watayan quarters for this new regional energy initiative, and in the question of tourism, as I pointed out earlier on, the Bahamas Prime Minister is calling on CARICOM now to take a position to let's now discuss tourism, not as a how do you want to put it, sea, sand, and water and what have you, but now as a major economic issue, something that could help provide employment even for the young people of the Caribbean.
Peter Richards, thank you for joining us live at the CARICOM Summit in Bridgetown. And earlier today, the leaders held high-level discussions on sustainable economic development in the Caribbean. The one-day symposium was held on the sidelines of the 36th CARICOM Summit, now underway, as you just heard, at the Hilton Hotel. CMC's Peter Richards reports.
Barbados Prime Minister Frendel Stewart told delegates that the focus of the discussions will be on the priorities of the region, so as to ensure that its voice is heard, especially as it relates to international meetings on dealing with the changing global environment. He said it was therefore necessary for there to be significant levels of partnership going forward.
We are challenging the member states and actors in the international community to commit to and engage fully in these processes that will ultimately shape and protect the global landscape in the post-2015 era. CARICOM is the uniquely poised to facilitate this process, with member states working in conjunction with their partners in the private sector, development institutions, and civil society groups.
United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, who addressed the conference, acknowledged there were still challenges facing the international community, even as it is preparing a transformative post-2015 development agenda that will be adopted by world leaders in September.
We have heard your calls and are committed to strengthening our implementation and partnership frameworks. We need to continue working together to link the global agenda to regional agendas and to deepen regional integration. We need to work hard to ensure that the social fabric is strong, because vibrant societies are the foundation of resilient economies.
Commonwealth Secretary General Kamalesh Sharma said that the 53-member grouping had long advocated the need for partnership in ensuring their socio-economic development.
We cannot move forward without partnerships. As just as no country can be left behind, no organization can be left behind either. And we are delighted in the response that we have been receiving. The private sector has to be involved. We have now a Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Corporation. We are developing a trade finance facility to prevent another form of free fall, which is an importer and an exporter can't even open letters of credit because there are no guarantees. So we are trying to create a sovereign-owned trade finance facility which will allow this to happen.
The symposium was convened by the Barbados government, the CARICOM Secretariat, the Caribbean Development Bank, the University of the West Indies, and the United Nations. Peter Richards, CMC News in Bridgetown, Barbados.
One of the topics on the agenda for the meeting might be the territorial dispute between Guyana and neighboring Venezuela. Guyana's President, David Granger, is calling on CARICOM to stand with his country on the territorial feud between the two South American countries. The Guyana government says they received assurances from Venezuela that there is nothing to fear from the recent decree issued by President Nicolas Maduro. But the situation has not changed. Unconfirmed reports indicate that President Maduro is seeking an audience with regional leaders at the summit and is likely to arrive in Barbados for talks on Saturday. We get more in this report from Neil Marks of Capital News.
At the CARICOM Heads of Government meeting, which opens Thursday, Guyana intends to present a solid case of why the threat against Guyana by Venezuela is also a threat against the Caribbean region. And as such, President David Granger would be looking for CARICOM to issue more than just the usual passing paragraph of support in its communique at the end of the meeting.
Over the last week, this administration has been working tirelessly to ensure that our case is well made, that every individual will have access to our case as it's presented by Brigadier Granger when he speaks. The President has cast his remarks and will do so in the sense that the Caribbean must be a zone of peace, and therefore a threat by Venezuela to Guyana is about a threat to all of CARICOM.
Guyana's case has been documented in a publication that will be handed to all CARICOM heads of government at the meeting. This was announced today by Minister of State Joseph Harmon.
The President, when he goes to Barbados and he speaks on the matter, will distribute a book which we have actually written over these last couple of days. So he's going to use the book which we will circulate to all of the heads at the CARICOM conference as a basis for his argument that the Venezuelans' claim is unjust, that our claim is valid and our claim is meant to be supported by all CARICOM states.
Apart from the conference, President Granger and his team will be holding talks with individual leaders of CARICOM to ensure that Guyana walks away from the meeting with strong support from CARICOM. President Granger has said the government is pursuing a legal settlement once and for all to the border controversy with Venezuela.
Still to come, a recent study shows that the first sexual encounter a number of men and women in the Caribbean had was a forced one. Details in a moment.
Antigua is the only vacation destination this year. Come for the excitement of live cricket. Win a trip for two back for the Caribbean's greatest summer festival, Antigua's Carnival, only at the Caribbean Airline. Simply like the Antigua and Barbuda Facebook page. Tell us why you love Antigua's Carnival and you'll be entered to win. Antigua's Carnival, July 26th to August 4th. Love cricket, love carnival, love Antigua and...
Ravenel's Resort and Conference Center is the mecca of conferences in the island of Tobago. The state-of-the-art facility caters to executive forums, weddings, banquets, training, elegant dining, and tranquil accommodations. Guests at Ravenel's Resort can choose from self-catering, standard, deluxe, and executive rooms. Sit at the poolside and savor the ambience of nature, or enjoy a sumptuous meal on the terrace and inside a Bouvardia restaurant. Let's go to Ravenel's Resort and Conference Center, the tranquil Caribbean Resort. Call 868-639-9666 or visit our website at www.rovenelsresorttobago.com.
St. Lucia Carnival is calling you. July 15th to the 21st, 2015. Panorama, soca shows, King and Queen of the Bands, breakfast fest, Juve, and 2 days of costume mass. It's real pandemonium. Let me hear you say, boy. You have to experience it yourself. The colors, the pageantry, sweet sounds of steel pan, and not forgetting Juve morning, party in the streets. Come feel the vibes in St. Lucia. St. Lucia Carnival, July 15th to the 21st. For more information, visit www.stluciancarnival.com.
A recent study indicates that the first sexual encounter of 40% of women and 30% of men in the Caribbean was forced, and they were said to have happened when the individuals were children. The study was conducted by the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, in partnership with the World Health Organization. UNICEF Caribbean representative Kin Sandy Lewin tells CMC News the Caribbean survey was done in the larger islands.
The element of looking at the statistics, police, and social care systems do have a fairly high level of cases as well. What we know globally is that what is reported is called the tip of the iceberg, and the tip of the iceberg is normally around, say, 20% of the reality that is out there.
UNICEF has launched a Break the Silence campaign in the Caribbean, and Sandy Lewin says it has had an impact since there has been an increase in reported cases. But the concern now is the ability of the system to cope with this new level of reporting.
And the system not only includes the social workers to respond, but the police, the magistrates, the whole element of having justice for children, and how the media reacts to such reports, protecting the identity and the privacy of the children involved. So these are the many dimensions that are involved in having a system respond. That includes health workers and teachers also taking up the cause and saying, we need to do our part when we see, when we recognize the symptoms, and when we can be the front line of care and support for the children that they are engaging with.
Sandy Lewin says UNICEF is now working with governments in the Eastern Caribbean to help them make a case for more funding for social care and services. Over the next 30 days, workers out of the Bahama Mar Resort can breathe easy, at least for a while. Bahama Mar filed for bankruptcy earlier this week, but the resort in the Bahamas has received approval to continue paying workers' salaries and benefits. The approval also applies for ordinary course suppliers and vendors for post-petition claims, among other things. Of the $80 million approved, Bahama Mar will use $30 million for this purpose, but it is still unclear if salaries beyond the 30 days are included in the Guardian's approval. The financing agreement was proposed by developer Sarkis Ismailian, who says his goal is not only to finish, but also to open the resort. Ismailian believes the result is the key economic spark plug in the Bahamas. One day after the U.S. announced it will reopen its embassy in Cuba, Republicans in the Senate and House of Representatives say it is unlikely they will vote to lift the decades-old embargo. President Obama called for an end to the trade sanctions on Wednesday, saying Americans and Cubans are moving forward and Congress should follow suit. Obama announced Washington would reopen its embassy in Havana on July 20. The move comes more than 50 years after the U.S. cut diplomatic ties with Cuba. And ahead in Newsline Sport, the U.S. orders the extradition of 7 FIFA officials. We'll be right back.
Ravenel's Resort and Conference Center is the mecca of conferences in the island of Tobago. The state-of-the-art facility caters to executive forums, weddings, banquets, training, elegant dining, and tranquil accommodations. Guests at Ravenel's Resort can choose from self-catering, standard, deluxe, and executive rooms. Sit at the poolside and savor the ambiance of nature, or enjoy a sumptuous meal on the terrace and inside a Bouvardia restaurant. Let's go to Ravenel's Resort and Conference Center, the tranquil Caribbean resort. Call 868-639-9666 or visit our website at www.rovenelsresorttobago.com.
St. Lucia Carnival is calling you. July 15th to the 21st, 2015. Panorama, soca shows, King and Queen of the Bands, breakfast fest, Juve, and 2 days of costume mass. It's real pandemonium. Let me hear you say, boy. You have to experience it yourself. The colors, the pageantry, sweet sounds of steel pan, and not forgetting Juve morning, party in the streets. Come feel the vibes in St. Lucia. St. Lucia Carnival, July 15th to the 21st. For more information, visit www.stluciancarnival.com.
The United States has made a formal request to Switzerland for the extradition of 7 FIFA officials arrested on corruption charges in May. The then CONCACAF president, Caymanian Jeffrey Webb, was among the officials detained. The Swiss Federal Office of Justice says the formal extradition requests were made on Wednesday, and it comes on the heels of a major inquiry by the FBI. A Swiss official says the officials and their attorneys now have 14 days to respond. The Office of Justice is then expected to make its decision within a few weeks. The Barbados Tridents continued their winning ways, having defeated St. Lucia's Zouks by 15 runs at Warner Park on Wednesday night. The Tridents posted 148 for 8 after winning the toss. Shoaib Malik was named man of the match for his top score of 51. Captain Darren Sammy for the Zouks captured 2 wickets for 28 runs, while Kemar Roach claimed 2 for 37. Let's take a look at how Barbados the batting innings went.
Dwayne Smith, he threatened early in his innings, hitting a 6, and then another one. Should have been a chance. Kemar Roach just couldn't hold on the boundary line. But look at this effort from Nathan McCullum. It's been a great addition to the Zouks team. Brilliant one-handed catch to dismiss Smith. And well, Peterson, the experience at the top of the innings, didn't quite work. Darren Sammy picking up that wicket. But Shoaib Malik, he's been the mainstay of this Trident's batting. Played some beautiful shots on the offside and the onside. Darren Sammy, his second wicket, a simple catch to Peterson. Getting rid of Monerera. Pollard showed his aggressive intent early. But look at this brilliance. Again, McCullum getting rid of the dangerous Kyron Pollard in this innings. Was the call out? Pollard had to go. Jonathan Carter Tried his best with a couple lusty blows. But in the meantime, Malik was doing the job. Kima Roach came back and picked up the wickets of Carter. It was really mostly the Zooks. A couple hefty blows in the end. Share Hope came in, and then the full toss. He couldn't quite get it over mid-off. Eddie Lesperis taking a simple catch. Shoaib Malik continued how they wish he could have stayed to the end. Celebrated his 6th 50 in CPL. And then Sami, brilliance on the field, got rid of Malik. At that time, you felt that the Tridents were really going to go short of the pass score in this venue. Pass score of 160. Both Jason Holder and Jivan Mendes tried their best in the end. In the last delivery, Mendes was run out.
However, 3 wickets from Riyad Emrit restricted St. Lucia Zooks for 133 for 9 off 20 overs. He grabbed the big wicket of Andre Fletcher, who went on 52. Jivan Mendes had figures of 2 for 15 and Robin Peterson 2 for 32. Here is a look at some of the highlights.
And then Mendes, what a delivery to Ross Taylor. You don't get him out that easily. Good spin. And then the googly, straight to the first slip. Could have picked that one. And then David's a little bit of a fight back. He needed 11, 12 and over by then. And then he was out. Caught Carter. Good catch running in. And then Darren Sammy, the captain, sixes. Trying to fight and get back in the side, and then it was just all too much. Caught Hope, and they lost Hope. El Dorado celebrations were going then. And then right at the end, McCullum, boundary, and then it was out. Stumped Hope again. All too much tonight. The run rate was too high, too difficult. And a couple of sixes at the end, just to finish it off. And then Emrit caught and bowled. His 3 wickets. Edwards out for 9. And then why not finish the innings? Another big boundary.
After the match, a disappointed Darren Sammy believes his team did well to restrict the Tridents to a gettable total, but says he will ensure the team does not make the same mistake when they meet Barbados again on Friday.
Wicket is not playing as well as it did last year. And we got to learn from this game. You know, they use their slower bowlers quite well, but with that said, I thought my pacers bowled really well. And we'll take the learning from this game, because we come back on Friday and try to beat the Titans for the first time in the CPL. Yeah, it was a tough loss. I thought first half we were happy with the total, and we just didn't bat properly.
And while Captain Pollard was not happy about his team's total, he heaped praises on his side for their valiant efforts on the field.
You know, I thought we batted, pretty poorly in the first 6 overs. We emphasized that in the dressing room afterwards. But what I actually told the guys is 147 touch runs on the board. We watched how difficult it was to bat on the wicket. And, if we feel well, I think it's going to be a good opportunity for us to win this game, because, St. Lucia made a lot of mistakes in the field, so that 147 could have easily been a 120, and then it would have put us under more pressure. So, I just thought it was a good team effort. Shoaib batted brilliantly, to get us to that total, and then that spell by Riyad Emrit in the middle there was absolutely fantastic.
Action in the Caribbean Premier League continues with a doubleheader at Warner Park, St. Kitts. The Amazon Warriors will hope to redeem themselves from their 2-run defeat at the hands of the Zooks on Friday. They meet St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots at 4 p.m. Then the return leg of the top-of-the-table clash of the Zooks versus the Barbados Tridents bowl off at 8 p.m. at Warner Park, St. Kitts. About 100 athletes are expected to represent Trinidad and Tobago at the Pan American Games in Canada next month. The TNT Olympic Committee has released a list of 80 athletes to compete in 13 different sporting events at the July 10 to 26 Games in Toronto. However, the contingent will be without the services of some star-studded athletes, including Richard Thompson and Mark Burns. We get more in this report.
Athletes named will be required to submit a subsequent fitness report to determine their participation at the World Championships in August. In their absence, the country's fastest man, Kirsten Bledman, will headline the men's track team. However, he says that he is watching his health ahead of World Championships.
Depending on as the coach say, because Panama just World Championship is a big go, but I like to go there for train no matter what.
All eyes will also be on 400-meter runner Marshall Cedeno. Doubts surfaced over his representation for TNT ahead of the World Championships following his disqualification at the National Championships. But Surratt says he's not out of the team and gave further clarification.
Our national championships is not a trials. It is an event that is used as a criteria for national selection. So it's not like a trial like in the U.S. where the top three and this, once people didn't come in the top three and that kind of thing.
Cedeno will take the track alongside Jaren Solomon, Lalon Gordon, national champion Rene Kwao, and Jehu Gordon in the hurdles. In the field, Shaquille Waith and Quincy Wilson will be aiming to make their mark with guidance from javelin thrower Keshawn Walcott and shot putter Cleopatra Burrell. Look out as well for lone competitor in the heptathlon, Marsha Mark Beard. Kellyanne Batiste will spearhead the women on the track as they go for precious metal at the Pan Am Games in Toronto, Canada from the 10th to the 26th of July.
That report from Sergio Defour of TV6 News, and we'll be right back.
This is Caribbean Newsline, brought to you in association with Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
CMC presents Caribbean in 10. All the latest news for your weekday lunchtime, Monday to Friday, 12:30 p.m. on Carib Vision.
Experience the award-winning Atlantis Submarine Tour in Barbados, which is highly recommended for adults and children. Imagine yourself in a whale submarine with big viewports all around, submerged to depths of up to 150 feet in air-conditioned comfort. This narrated undersea voyage can take you to a reef and a shipwreck as curious fish peek in and sea fans sway. Contact us today.
For the latest in Caribbean culture, news, sports, and entertainment, tune in to Carib Vision. We keep you up to date on developments in your region. Carib Vision. We broadcast across the Caribbean, in the New York tri-state area, Canada, and Europe. Carib Vision, the eyes and ears of the Caribbean.
The travel forecast is brought to you by Liat, the Caribbean airline.
As we go, the major developments of this day, CARICOM leaders formally begin their annual summit in Bridgetown. And in sport, the U.S. has made a formal request to Switzerland for the extradition of 7 FIFA officials arrested on corruption charges in May. That's Caribbean Newsline. For more news and sports around the clock, log on to ConnerNews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow. From all of us here at CMC News, thanks for watching. Good night.